River Cartwright has been the face of slow horses for 4 seasons now, and yet there's a big question fans can't stop asking. Is River actually a great spy, or is he just someone who looks the part, but constantly stumbles his way through disaster? Since the beginning of the Apple TV Plus series back in 2022, River Cartwright, played by the brilliant Jack Lowden, has taken center stage. He's smart, instinctive, adaptable, and deeply driven by this need to prove himself. And on the surface, that makes him the perfect protagonist for a spy drama that lives in the shadow of MI5. But when you look closer, when you really dig into the details of what River has done over 4 seasons, a very different picture emerges. One that's as fascinating as it is frustrating. And it leaves us wondering whether Slow Horses is actually telling us the story of a man destined to rise above his failures, or a man who will never escape them. Now let's break this down, because River's journey is a story of contradictions. From the very first episode, we learned that River's talented but unlucky. That's been the tagline for his career ever since. He's portrayed as gifted, someone who should have had a shining future at MI5 headquarters, someone who could have been one of the greats. But instead, a disastrous training mission that went wrong led to his exile at Slough House, the graveyard for MI5's outcasts. This setup automatically makes him sympathetic. You want to root for him. He's the underdog, punished unfairly, trapped among the misfits. But the truth is, River isn't exactly blameless. He's made sizable mistakes, not just once, but repeatedly. And the show doesn't hide it. Take season 1 as the clearest example. River is caught completely unaware that he's being followed by another agent for an extended period of time. For someone who's supposed to be hyper alert, constantly scanning for threats, this is a massive blunder. And it isn't a one-off. Throughout the show, he's been at the center of missions that go sideways, sometimes catastrophically. Yes, River can improvise. Yes, he can think on his feet. But he's also reckless, impulsive, and often thoughtless about how his actions impact the people around him. That doesn't sound like the resume of an elite spy. That sounds like someone who has the raw tools but lacks the discipline to make it in the big leagues. But here's the catch, and it's part of what makes Slow Horses such a compelling series. River's flaws don't stop us from caring about him. In fact, they make him more human, because let's face it, if you've been watching Slow Horses, you know this isn't the sleek, polished world of James Bond or Jason Bourne. This is a world of bureaucratic messiness, of broken people who are just as likely to trip over their own egos as they are to foil an international terrorist plot. And River, for all his good looks and obvious talent, is just as broken as the rest of them. Maybe even more so, because he can't accept his own shortcomings. And that brings us to another huge piece of River's story, his ego. River wants to be seen as exceptional, as brilliant, as worthy of MI5's top tier. He wants the respect of Diana Taverner, of his colleagues, of anyone who ever doubted him. And yet, that very need often sabotages him. One of the most telling aspects of his character is how poorly he functions in a team setting. He gets wrapped up in his own issues, stews over his own insecurities, and in the process, ends up hurting the people closest to him. There are moments when he's thoughtless, even cruel, not because he's malicious, but because he's so consumed with proving himself that he forgets other people exist. For a spy, someone whose success depends on cooperation and reading human behavior, this is a fatal flaw. Now, fans often point out that River did something impressive back in season 1. He managed to break into MI5 headquarters. And sure, on paper, that looks like a major accomplishment. But let's be honest. As someone who's already an MI5 agent, even if exiled, this wasn't the Herculean feat it's sometimes made out to be. It wasn't the kind of impossible, game-changing heist you'd expect from an outsider. It was a clever move, but not one that proves he's operating on a different level from everyone else. And that's the tricky part of analyzing River Cartwright. He's not incompetent, far from it. He's skilled. He has instincts that occasionally border on brilliant, but he's not extraordinary either. He's not the kind of spy who dominates every situation. He's the kind of spy who barely scrapes by, who survives through a messy mix of talent, luck, and sheer stubbornness. So what does that mean for Slow Horses as a whole? Well, it means River isn't just the protagonist. He's the embodiment of the show's entire philosophy. This isn't a series about perfection. It's a series about failure, about people who have screwed up, been cast aside, and still keep trying anyway. River is the poster child for that. And maybe that's why he's remained at the center of the narrative for 4 straight seasons. Not because he's the best, but because he's the one who most perfectly reflects the messy reality of being a slow horse. But let's not sugarcoat it. There's another layer to River's story that makes it even more tragic. The show keeps hailing him as someone exceptional, someone gifted who just got unlucky. But the truth is, maybe he's not unlucky. Maybe he's exactly where he belongs. Think about it. If River truly were one of MI5's best, he wouldn't keep getting blindsided. He wouldn't keep letting missions fall apart. He wouldn't keep alienating the people he works with. His entire career is littered with missteps that go beyond bad luck. They point to a man who has potential but will never fully live up to it, and in a way that makes him even more interesting. Because instead of watching a superhero in a suit, we're watching a deeply flawed man trying desperately to be something he's not. And let's talk about River's personal life for a second, because that's another place where his flaws shine through. His strained relationship with his estranged father adds layers to his character, but it also shows how much River struggles to separate his professional and personal failures. He wants validation not just from MI5, but from his family as well. And when he doesn't get it, he spirals. It's a recurring theme. River tying his entire self-worth to other people's approval and falling apart when he doesn't get it. That's not just a character trait, it's a ticking time bomb, because sooner or later, in the spy world, a lack of self-awareness gets you killed. Now here's the real kicker. Despite everything I've just said, despite River's repeated failures and flaws, he's still the character we root for. Why? Because he represents something that's rare in spy fiction. Real vulnerability. He's not untouchable. He's not the guy who always has the perfect plan. He's messy, he's human, and he's constantly on the edge of falling apart. And in a way, that makes him more relatable than someone like Bond or Bourne. Because let's be honest, who among us hasn't felt like we were capable of greatness, only to watch ourselves trip over the same mistakes again and again? River Cartwright is us, in a suit, with a gun, trying to survive a world that doesn't forgive mistakes. So where does this leave River heading into future seasons? That's the million-dollar question. 4 seasons in, and the show has consistently revolved around him. But at some point, Slow Horses is going to have to answer the question it's been dancing around since day one. Is River destined to rise above his failures, or is he doomed to repeat them forever? Because if the show keeps painting him as unlucky rather than unskilled, it risks undercutting the very thing that makes him compelling. His story only works if he's flawed. His story only matters if his victories come at a cost, if they're messy, imperfect, and human. And maybe that's the brilliance of Slow Horses. Maybe the point isn't whether River is a great spy or not. Maybe the point is that greatness itself is a myth, especially in the murky world of intelligence. Maybe the real story is about survival, about imperfect people trying to do the right thing in a world where nothing ever goes according to plan. If that's the case, then River Cartwright is the perfect protagonist, because no matter how many times he screws up, no matter how many times he fails, he keeps getting back up. And in the end, maybe that's what makes a true spy, not perfection, but persistence. So is River Cartwright a great spy? Probably not. But is he the perfect protagonist for Slow Horses? Absolutely. Because his flaws don't make him weaker. They make him real. And in a show that thrives on showing the broken, battered side of espionage, that's exactly the kind of hero we need.